Alright, in this video we are going to learn about using the OES mass emailer to send out bulk emails to your customer list. So what we're going to do is go to Tools and click on Scheduled Emailer, and to create a new email I'm going to click Create New Email at the top here. Now there's only a few steps that are actually required to set up and send out a mass email. I'm going to walk you through each of those steps in the order in which you typically would do them. So the first thing I'm going to do is provide a name for my email that can describe the typical campaign that I'm setting up here, and some notes about it, maybe about who I'm sending it to and what my plans are for tracking purposes for myself. And next thing I'm going to do is I can either apply a template to the email, or I can simply type something in. It doesn't really matter what you do there, but set up a body and a subject there. And then finally I want to save this email as my first step. So now I have an email in the system, and now I can start modifying some of the settings. And I can modify the body and the subject of the email at any point in time up until I'm ready to be sent. So let's talk about the recipients first. So I click View Add Recipients, and here is the window that shows me who I want to send this email to. Now I have three main options here. Okay, the first one is status recipients. What I can do is I can check any status that I want to send this email to. So for example, if I click New Lead, what will happen is when this email gets sent out, it will send it to any of my customers that are in the selected status at the time that an email is sent. So what that means is if I have this email set up to send out next Monday, and I don't have any new leads in here right now, but I check New Lead. But in the meantime, up until next Monday, I maybe add 10 or 15 customers to the new lead status. When the email gets sent out on Monday, it's going to look at who is in the new lead status right when it gets sent, and it's going to add those customers to the recipients list. So when you check these items, you're not going to see the recipients show up down here below, because they don't get added until the email is actually sent. Now the same thing goes for tag recipients. You can just simply check one or more tags that you want to send the email to, and you can do both of these or none of them, because the third option is to use the customer search tool and search for customers using that tool and add them to the mass email. So to do that, what I'm going to do right now is actually going to save changes here, and I'm going to uncheck these items. I'm going to hit Save Changes, and I'm actually going to go to the customer search screen. So from here, what I can do is I can say, okay, I want to pull up all of my new leads that are over age 20 years old and perform a search. So I've got 41 records. I'm going to select all on these records. Okay, so they're all checked. I'm going to expand search result tools, and I'm going to select the email that I just created, which is test mass email, and I'm going to click add. So confirm that, and it's going to come back and tell me that I just added all the selected customers to the scheduled email that I selected. So now let's go back to Tools, Scheduled Emailer, and open up the test email. Now you can see 41 recipients. So those are recipients that I've directly added to this email. So if I go back in here to View Add Recipients, I'm still going to have my checkboxes checked, but I'm going to actually have the customers that I've directly added to this email. So when it gets sent, any of the direct customers that I added will get the email, plus any additional customers that are in my new lead status will also get the email. And if I come back to the email after it's sent, it'll actually have added all the ones that are in the new lead status to the list, so I can see who actually ended up getting that email. Okay, so once I'm done with the recipients, I want to set up the send schedule. Now, on the send schedule, you have a couple different options. Basically, you can do a one-time mass email, or you can do a multi-time mass email. So the one-time mass email is simple. You put in a date, you put in a time, it has to be a future date and time, and you save your schedule. If you want to do something like a drip email, maybe to your new leads, for example, that goes out once a week, that introduces yourself and asks them to call you or email you to get quotes and things like that, you can do that. So let's do that like on a weekly basis. Maybe we send it out every Monday morning, 1 a.m., and let's start this campaign. We'll put a start date of today, and then we'll go through, say, the end of the year. 10. Okay, so that's going to would basically start the next upcoming Monday, and it would go from now all the way up until the end of the year, and then it would stop. So I save the schedule, and I go back to the email, and it's going to tell me weekly schedule every Monday, and the next send is 5/24, 1 o'clock a.m. So now I've got my content set up, my recipients, my schedule, and there's one last thing that's very important. Marketing checkbox and the enable checkbox are very important. So the marketing checkbox should pretty much always be checked. What that does is it automatically inserts an unsubscribe link to the bottom of your mass email so that people can unsubscribe from getting future marketing emails from you. And that is important because you need to comply with federal spam laws. Now, the very last thing that you absolutely need to do, otherwise this email will not get sent out, is you need to say enabled for sent, and you need to save your email. Okay, once that's done, your email will go into a read-only mode. The status will say scheduled, which you can use that to confirm that you've done this correctly. And if you go back out to the scheduled email list, it will say, test mass email in scheduled status. If it's still in editing, it will never send. Even if it reaches that scheduled send date and time, if it's not in scheduled status, it's not going to send out. Now, the other thing you can do here is you can actually open up an email that you've either sent or you're still working on. You can duplicate it to create a new campaign. And once an email has been sent, again, you will be able to come in here and view the recipients list to see who actually received this email. And I think the last thing to point out here is what happens when you are doing a multi-time email. So something, say, for example, that goes out every week. What's that going to look like? What the system does is you set up your email. So in our case, we have test mass email that's going to go out every Monday. What's going to happen is when this email gets sent, it's actually going to duplicate this and create another one calling it test mass email, and then it's going to be scheduled for the next Monday. The reason for that is that we can then save a history on each instance of the email that went out and exactly who received it for historical purposes.